Hello, everyone. Welcome to the NYCP Talking Circle for January 2023. Welcome to 2023, 19 days in. I hope all of you are doing great in the first 19 days of 2023. Go ahead and say hello in the chat. Let us know where you're joining us from while I move ahead and get us disclaimed.
This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises, Inc. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred.
Okay, now that we've got disclaimed, I see that we still have quite a bit of folks joining us, so I'll just take a short pause before we get and continue on. Again, please, I see people are sharing in the chat where they are zooming in from. It was great to for our new grantees to spend time with you in December and in Washington, D.C. at our Grant Leadership Academy. It was great to see everyone and meet you all face to face. That was fabulous. Also joining us along with our new grantees are grantees who are previous grantees who are in maybe a no-cost extension period of their grant. And so we have a great mix of new and experienced grantees. And so I just really look forward to our conversation today. Okay, it looks like we got pretty much a bulk of everybody in and their audio is on. So we'll go ahead and move forward. I'd like to welcome Donna Bussell, your NYC Program Officer. Hey, Donna.
Hey, Alani. Hey, everybody. I'm glad you're all here for our first talking circle of this year.
Awesome. And then Donna will be, again, sharing information and relevant points along the way. Donna, anytime, just give me a heads up if you want to chime in. It'd be great to hear from you. So today we're going to go over, first start with some reminders and announcements. And then we are getting into the bulk of really what Talking Circle is all about, is about you folks talking and sharing the activities that you are currently engaged in. And then we'll round up today's Talking Circle with upcoming events. So let's get started with some reminders and announcements. What I wanted to start off with is getting your brain sort of gearing up for the APR season that is upcoming with some preparation tips. As we end in 2022, we're moving definitely 19 days into 2023. We want to get you to start thinking about things to prepare you for a successful APR season. One of the things you might want to do is review your performance measures. Go ahead and look over your GEPRA and project measures. For you new grantees, I'm sure you are either in process or maybe have completed inputting your project measures into your project planner and are getting those approved. So you want to make sure you're looking back at those. Also, you want to make sure that you are reviewing your data collection tools, methods, and timelines. And so really making sure that the tools and the methods that you're utilizing really are going to provide you the data you need in order to successfully respond to your project measures and GEPRA measures in your APR. Also look at the timeline. When are you collecting that data and analyzing it? And making sure that that all sort of times up with the APR report sequencing. And then this is a great time to check with your budget office regarding drawdowns. Right now, you should have had some drawdowns completed. You want to make sure that you are building a relationship, if you don't already have, with your budget office. Also, we will be having a webinar coming up on March 30th. You see that date right there. I really want to encourage you to invite your budget office staff to participate in that APR preparation webinar. So they can ask any questions they have, and they can see the format that they should be reporting in, and all of the financial and fiscal information. But again, it's just a great time to sort of reconcile what you're thinking the drawdowns should be with your budget office, to make sure that there's alignment. And just a heads up, again, the APR for this year will be due April 28th. Okay. The other thing I wanted to sort of announce is related to credit on materials. And so if you are utilizing any of your grant funds through your NYCP to maybe create booklets, a publication, a report, maybe you're also doing a video and you're utilizing the grant funds to create these publications, then you want to make sure that you are including this statement here. The statement is the contents of this, and you put what kind of publication it is. Were developed under a grant from the U.S. Department of Education. However, those contents do not necessarily represent the policies of the U.S. Department of Education, and you should not assume endorsement by the federal government. And then you want to provide that EDGAR, and then there is a link there. You could go ahead and copy and paste this and put this in. We see a lot of this sort of like if it's a booklet, you know, on the back side of the first page, or sometimes at the end. If it's a booklet, sometimes people put it on the end. If you're thinking about if it's a video, then you might want to put it either at the beginning in your title page or maybe at the end, but find a place where you are establishing this, this language. Also, if you want to go ahead and include the department seal, we have this contact information. You do need to get approval for access to that seal. So you can either call the number there, or our team will be putting in the email as well into the chat. You could go ahead and request access to that and use of the department seal. Also, some really exciting news is that, again, we are going to be having the student artist competition. This year, the theme is I Am the Future. And so we really want to encourage your students and your participants to go ahead and submit something, really like take this as an opportunity to maybe integrate this into some of the programs that you're doing. This competition is open for American Indian, Alaska Native, or Native Hawaiian and Pacific Island artists, writer, or videographer from early childhood education to grade 12. The due date for a student art submission will be online, and it will be March 29th. And the awards will be announced at the June project directors meeting. You can see there, Sarah shared the tiny URL, so you can read over the requirements, as well as the email for submissions or any questions that you have. We really are excited, and we're looking forward to seeing the art coming from your students. That is a great segue into just giving you a heads up that the 2023 Projects Directors Meeting will be occurring June 6th through the 8th. It will again be virtual. In previous years, you were only able to invite up to 3 team members. This year, we're opening the doors, and if you want to invite your entire team to participate in this, we really want to encourage you. And so there is no limit on registration. So you want to make sure you are getting this on your team's calendar. Again, we have sessions that are, you know, around program, assessment, even some fiscal. We also, you know, sometimes have sessions around sustainability of your grant program or the program that you're running through the NYCP grant. And so it really has topics for all the different members of your team. So we really want to encourage your involvement. We are right now beginning and in the throes of getting geared up and planning for this PD meeting. But what we really want to do is make it responsive to your needs. And so we're going to take a little moment to really just collect your thoughts around this. this is a great sort of warm up to really hearing your voice. And so I really want to encourage you to come off of mute, get your talking circle muscles working, and we want to hear your voices. We do have a lot of you, so there might not be a space to hear from all of you. So please go ahead, and if I don't catch you and you want to share something, go ahead and put that in the chat. So our first question I would really love to hear from you about is, what topics do you want to see covered during the June project directors meeting? I'll give a little pause, give you some think time. And then again, we would love to hear your voice. And if not, then please go ahead and put it in the chat. What topics do you want to see covered during the June project directors meeting? No thoughts, ideas? All right. Excuse me. Now, I know I'm kind of springing these questions out on you, and you might be like, I need some time to think, Oleni. That's fine. You have lots of time to think. We can take your comments or your ideas in the chat. Also, you can, maybe sometimes when I'm out in the yard, these ideas pop in my head. And so maybe you're out in your yard or you're doing dishes and an idea pops in your head. Please go ahead and email us at oie@seiservices.com, our regular email, and share any of the ideas that sort of pop in your head in between now and the project directors meeting, actually. Also, you please go ahead and share in the chat. Let's move on to the next question. So are you doing a program or process that you would like to share with your fellow project directors? I've been really trying to communicate that it doesn't necessarily have to be something that is being evaluated or research-based, or done by a research team. It could be a topic that you'd like to share. Maybe you had a challenge. I know all of us are being challenged with hiring, and maybe you've had to face that challenge and have come up with some creative ways to address that. Maybe you'd like to share that. It doesn't always have to be something tied up in a bow and perfect. There's lots of learning on the way. Any thoughts? Oh, I see. Awesome, Allison. Communication tips for communicating with youth via electronic means or social media, text and email. How to get responses. That's a good one. Anything else? Oh, Ellie, I see. We've been working with 8th through 12th grade and another grant, and I'm finding it hard to get kids to actually come and engage. Yeah, engagement has been a challenge. And we do have actually quite a few of you who are doing some really creative work around engagement. So that's a great, I'm going to write that down on my list. Oh, my pen died. Shucks. Okay, here we go. Okay. Awesome. And then let's move on to the third question. Is there a speaker you would like to hear or learn from? Or learn from? Now, this can be either maybe a keynote speaker that you've heard, maybe at another conference, or hey, maybe you're just on YouTube looking at Indigenous leaders and you've seen somebody fabulous and you'd like to share and see if we can get that person. I don't know if we can, but we are willing to do the groundwork and seek them out and see if they would want to participate. So please think big and we will try and see what we can do. How to get more kids engaged and participating, yes. Yeah. Oh, great. Thanks, Allison. Let me get that down. Awesome. It might be somebody in maybe somebody in your neck of the woods, maybe it's an elder who's been doing some fantastic work, who maybe is a great storyteller. So it doesn't even need to be just solely around like maybe program people. Maybe they are a wonderful storyteller and they're doing storytelling and you're connecting that into maybe some of your social emotional activities. So really sort of thinking out of the box. Thanks, Chris. That's a great suggestion. Allison, I took down both of your suggestions. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, thank you. That'd be great, Dylan. Lakota Mental Health, Richard Moves. Gotcha. Awesome. These are great suggestions. Keep them coming. I do want to encourage you though, again, remember this is a talking circle. So we're going to be coming up real quickly on some times where we're going to want to hear your voices. So this is a great sort of warm up if you want to come off of mute and tune up your vocal cords for our talking sessions, talking slides that are coming up.
Hi, my name's David. I'm a new program director. I was going back to the first question. I'd really love more sort of resources, information, experiences others have had on social and emotional learning programs that are specifically kind of developed with, for, by Native American communities.
Okay. By and for, you said create Native communities, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. And thank you for coming off of mute and talking. All right. Great suggestions. Again, keep having these ideas. If they pop in your head, send a fast email to oie@seiservices.com. Let us know an idea for a project directors meeting, and we'll sort of get that on our radar. And I just wanted to, again, clue you in or cue you in if you aren't already accessing this. We do have an NYCP Padlet that I regularly try to check and update with information, particularly when we get into APR season. We will be putting the forms up there. We will be also posting the webinar there, any information. And so it's a great sort of repository for these resources that you can easily access. And thanks, Sarah, for throwing on Casey, they're so on it. Throwing the link to the Padlet there. Again, I really want to encourage you, put the Padlet as a bookmark on your internet service thing. Forget what that's called, but in order for you to access this when you need, sometimes it's just, again, is a one-stop shop for forms and information, and we're always putting resources up there. Yes, yeah, Allison, the optional forms are really fun. It really helps, I think, with sort of prompting you as well as getting you to sort of know what kind of information. You might want to actually like take a look at some of these forms that are there, so you can again gear up for the APR season and making sure you have you're collecting that data. In particular for like the optional form tool C, it provides a lot, it requests a lot of like demographic information, the age group and grade level, numbers of serving. And so it might behoove you to sort of take a look to make sure, again, that you are collecting that data. Okay, great. Again, thank you again for all of your ideas. So you're gonna hear less of me talking and more of you talking as we move into grantee sharing program and activities. And this is really an opportunity for you to have a discussion, to share what your program and the activities that you are engaged in. We're gonna first sort of, in order to organize a conversation and discussion, we're gonna first talk about what activities you're using to develop college and career ready students. And then our discussion will turn to activities that you are providing to improve educational outcomes with your students. I really, again, want to encourage our NYCP NCE grantees who've been with us for a while to share any lessons that you've learned along the life of your grant as it relates to these programs and activities. And again, I want to encourage you to come off of mute and share everything that's going on. So NYCP has really two main focuses is really on college and career readiness, as well as improving educational outcomes. I know, again, for a lot of our new grantees, there was an additional focus around teacher training. So I wanted to sort of start the discussion off with really talking about the activities that you are doing related to college and career readiness. Did some research and I looked at, sort of what's going on there as out in the landscape of college and career readiness. And what are those skills, that are both academic and real world skills that sort of a majority of career readiness are really looking to build within their students. And these are some of those skills, again, academic and real world skills. But I have a question. As you are developing these programs and working within Native American and Alaska Native communities, are there other skills or other considerations you need or you worked on as it relates specifically to your Native American and Alaska Native populations that go beyond this, or maybe are maybe the strategy in which you are building time management and critical thinking is really based on maybe a Native value or perspective, or really addresses the needs? I'd love for you to come off of mute and share if there are, again, any other skills that you are working on, or maybe strategies that are different to sort of the general landscape around college and career readiness for your Native American and Alaska Native students.
Hi, this is Dylan with the Allied Community of St. Paul.
Hi.
I think, hi, how are you? I missed the chickens, but I think I heard them earlier.
They'll come back on.
Good. So I think one element of our project design is we have a strong emphasis on mentoring. And so we're putting a lot of energy into, we actually spent the last year and a half, even prior to this grant, kind of building a network of mentors and supports for our Voc Tech program. There's a lot of evidence in education that shows that a mentor in a field of training or focus really helps to improve student outcomes and achievements. So I would just add that a mentoring component to any program, I think, is really helpful, especially for Alaska Native students and our students in particular who don't really have a lot of exposure to the fields of interest or the opportunities for our internship program. And it's been helpful to maybe cross-connect that a little bit so that they have a support mechanism that's outside of our system, that's outside of their workplace or their internship, that allows them somebody that they could go and talk to.
Yeah, that's great. And that's really like aligns to sort of those best practices around like Indigenous or Native education, the need to build relationships, right? And so you're starting through your mentors to build relationships so your students feel comfortable in those settings. Awesome. Great strategy. Others?
This is Chris Meyer.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm well, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Ben, we set up a system. Well, we have mentors or staff that are assigned to each grade level, 9 through 12. And we are progress monitoring the students every single week to make sure that we're aware of how they're doing in school. And of course, we recognize that the students are struggling with 2 core courses, and that's writing and math. And they can attend our after-school program to receive tutoring. And then also it helps us make decisions in terms of whether those students need to be referred to our CAS team, and that's the Heart Adolescent Support, Student Support Team, if there's some additional issues that are preventing them from becoming successful.
Yeah. That's great. Chris, I wanted to ask you, when you talk about those weekly sort of like check-ins with the students or looking to see where they're at, their progress, what are you looking at and what does that look like?
One of my staff produces a report for each grade level, and we're looking for patterns. And of course, when I'm analyzing them each week, I'm looking at where they're the subject areas that they're struggling in. And we're also looking at attendance as well. And we see that attendance is playing a big part in student success.
Yeah.
But again, doing some deep analysis of, are they engaged in some outside high-risk behaviors as well that may impact their success in school? And then they're also holding conversations in terms of college and career and what needs to be done in terms of improving their academic performance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. I mean, I love the idea that you're taking that data and then you're sort of like providing and addressing the needs of the students and having it, come actionable and alive in your program.
Yes, it's very, very helpful. It's telling us a story.
Right.
That's critical. I mean, you can't help students if you don't know how they're performing in school.
Right. Awesome.
It also tells us what subjects they're going to struggle with when they attend post-secondary also.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's great. That's great. Thanks for sharing, Chris.
You're welcome.
Others of you, how are you? Again, I have these sort of, I don't want to say they're generic, but they're sort of best practices around college and career readiness across the landscape. But are you doing anything unique? Maybe the strategy is unique for your Native American and Alaska Native students.
This is Allison Robbins from the Blue Lake Rancheria.
Hi.
And I wanted to share, we're in our no-cost carryover. So we've had a couple of years of experience and we've been working with Hoopa High School on the Hoopa Reservation to expand our career readiness portion. We've been doing all of the college things with our partner, Cal Poly Humboldt in Hoopa, getting them all of the various things on getting their portfolio ready, filling out the FAFSA, scholarship applications, all of that kind of thing. But on the real world skills side, we asked their associated student body to come up with a plan, like what do they want to do? How do they want to see their program continue? Because our funding is going to be going away. And so what they wanted to do was create some mechanism for them to generate program income to continue what they're working on. Nice. So we've worked with a local vendor who has donated a beautiful printer, and we're providing them the startup materials so they can basically open their own print shop in Hoopa, which doesn't exist up there. And they'll have vinyl, ink, other mediums to create the Associated Student Body Inker Lab is what they're calling it. And what they'll be doing is they have to set up their entrepreneurial experience goals, right? They're going to be learning about marketing, profit and expense, how to use the equipment, and they have to make a plan for that program income they generate and how they plan to use it to continue the program of entrepreneurialism and interconnectivity between tribes and the greater community.
Yeah.
So one of their plans are to use the funds for field trips to other universities in our area in the state of California, like Fresno State or Chico State or one of our UC schools, and for their study abroad program, which we've established with tribes actually in Taiwan. Wow. So they have their goals and they're setting up how much money that's going to take them and what they have to do to get there. So that is real world skills, time management, critical thinking, communication, networking, goal setting, collaboration, and problem solving. all
Mhm.
together. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the students at Hoopa. And it really, without the support of their principal being 100% behind it, I don't think it would go anywhere. So if we learn anything, really engaging the administration and engaging the students to create the solutions to the problems that they have identified. Because once they have buy-in to the solutions, they're much more ready to jump in and be involved. However, the time management portion, you have kids that are graduating. So you have to also think of what we call succession planning. And so that those older students who have been in our program for 4 years will help mentor the incoming students that are going to be coming in as freshmen. So we have a program we're trying to develop for them to go to the middle school and work with the 8th graders to tell them, join Native American Club, join a student associated student body, and here's what you can do. And that's, if anything I can say to you, is it takes perseverance, lots of communication, and willingness to think, outside of what you're normally ready to do, and letting the children lead the way.
Yeah, great suggestions. And thank you. That was a great segue to the next. I mean, it actually, you started to address sort of the next questions I was going to pose. I think it's fabulous that you are really, that is a really comprehensive activity with not just building in, showing the relevancy of academic skills, but also building real world skills that are beyond just thinking about like a checking account for, a particular student, but showing them how to budget for a company. That's awesome. And then engaging the entire community in that activity. So great example of this. Anyone else want to share maybe what type of comprehensive activities are you providing to prepare your students for college and careers? We've got a bunch of you on, so please go ahead and come off of mute and share.
Good morning and Happy New Year. This is Kachi. I'm in Anchorage, Alaska.
Hi.
I haven't started the grant yet because I did hire a couple people. One backed out, the other one has COVID. So I'm waiting for, but I've already thought I think they'll get on board by next week for sure. Awesome. But in community activities, I'm thinking about getting our students involved with our Alaska Native corporations because for career readiness. And then we have an Alaska charter school here in Anchorage. Mm-hmm. And there are a couple students that I heard of that want to join Ilicha and become future teachers. And I would like to pair them up with Yupik teachers at the Alaska Native school. So that's my goal so far. And I'm going to work with my team to see if we can accomplish that soon.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing your plans that you are starting to gear up and go, and we'll be definitely gaining some momentum once you have everyone in their work spots. But again, like I think what Allison said, is really harkens back to sort of the work that you're doing, really even though you might not have everybody in place, starting to develop those relationships, firm them up for when, all your staff is on board and you can really hit the ground running, is really something critical. And it can be really helpful for when your new staff comes on. So awesome. Others, how are you engaging the community in your college and career activities, or how do you plan to engage the community?
Good afternoon, Alani. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Well, I just had I had a kind of a different experience this week as I was working with a college, and I'm wondering if anyone else has had similar experiences, because we're working to develop a program where we can engage freshmen and sophomores with college credit. which seems crazy to me because they are so young and they're still babies. And I'm not sure they're ready necessarily for that. And yet some of them are going to want to do it. So one of the things that I'm trying to develop, and I'm wondering if anyone else has had experience with this, because they're below, when we administer the ACTs, generally the junior year.
Yeah.
So has anyone had any experience with setting criteria? How would you set that criteria for students to be able to know that they're ready to jump into something like that?
Great question. So any experience out there with this?
This is Jody Stoddard from, we have Wombly Futures, and we have a brand new NYCP grant this year. We're going to attempt to do that same thing. And I definitely have some concerns. We have an MOU with our local college, and one of our project coordinator, who's just hasn't even actually came on board yet, will come on board next week, is actually an adjunct instructor with the local tribal college. And so since he already has that connection, I'm hoping that he is a really, really good talker, and he can and he can make those connections to our college. So maybe hopefully we can offer like in foundations of education or intro to teaching or a basic education course, but just for our high school students, where the kids will get the college credit as well as getting the high school credit. And it's just what our plan is. There's nothing has been done more than the discussion and me sharing it, but that's one of the first things that he is going to work on for us to be able to have that as an offering for next year in our school.
Awesome.
This is Allison from Blue Lake again. Jody, I want to say that you're on the right path. Getting an MOU established with your university is a great idea. And the name that I put earlier in the director's meeting, Dr. Kutcha Risling Baldy, is the teacher who is teaching our extended ed courses at Cal Poly for our students who are earning 3 units this semester. And what I can recommend to you to do is start planning now, have them put together a syllabus of what's going to be taught in the class with a number on there that says you're going to have so many assignments a week. It's going to take so many hours per week to do the assignment, things like that for your students to see if they're willing to take on that work. Sure. And what you need to also think about is those, I think it was Tannen had brought this up. If you have students that are 9th or 10th graders that might not understand the amount of work that goes into a college course, having tutors on the standby for them to be able to set up study groups, because they might not realize that they need that kind of assistance. So setting up weekly study groups, particularly for your 9th and 10th graders, with tutors on standby so they can have individual tutoring to help support them in that, is what we have done in our extended ed courses. I can forward you some more information if you'd like me to, and give you some of our syllabuses so you can take a look. Cal Poly Humboldt has done a wonderful job, and it's all through the extended ed program, but that does cost us on tuition. So just be mindful of that. You can have escalating costs each year as your tuition goes up.
Sure. No, I would love the resources. I will chat you my email. Thank you.
Awesome. It also looks like Zach shared some information about what they're doing in the chat. They do have dual credit all the way to 9th, all the way down to 9th grade. Receive a letter of recommendation from, so they have to, I guess for students to participate, they have to get a letter of recommendation from a staff or community member, and each student writes a letter of interest to the college level program to participate. Nice. Any others want to share maybe your experiences with dual credit, all the way down to 9th grade?
Sure. This is Iris Chimburis.
Yeah,
I'm on the Nez Perce Reservation in Lapwai, Idaho. One thing that we do right now is we have our students are they're either on an educational careers pathway, medical careers pathway, or a college or a career and technical careers pathway. And so what we're doing is we have, all these agreements with all of our local universities and colleges, and we have a Northwest Indian College right here in Lapwai. But one thing I can do is we have, I don't know if you can see my book, but this is what we hand out to our students. And so what it does is just kind of outlines exactly what, you know, what we do for our students, the NYCP program, our community partners. We partner with our circle of elders. We partner with, because we have a portion on it where they have internships or practicums along with these classes. So like next semester, we are offering an Indigenous education course for those who are beginning their education pathway. And that's out of U of I. So we have a doctoral student and Vanessa Phillips Stevens, who's also teaching the course. And then what they'll do is they'll take the course for 3 days, and then 2 days they'll go to their internship. So the hopes of it is that their education internship or their medical internship or their career pathway or career technical internship will lead into, you know, maybe a summer job or so our hopes with our program is that if you're on the education field, you're going to complete, and then we have, let's show you a page. So this is like a medical pathway. And so it's got the freshmen all the way through seniors and kind of the classes you can take and when they're offered. So obviously they're offered for 9th through 12th. And then, but this is something that goes with the student. And so like you're saying earlier, how do you get them motivated? So this is really just a selling technique. So I just really have to sell the program. And so that's what we've been doing for weeks now, is just selling the program. So today it's been, classes start next week. So we've been having just, you know, kids are kids. So they've just been coming in like, how do I get in here? How do I do this? And so all day long, we've just been meeting with students, and it's not so much having them take a whole bunch of classes, but if they could take one the freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, senior year, you know, that's 4 college courses they've taken. And so we really work with our local universities, but I can email that to you. It's really nice just because it just, it eliminates a lot of work. A lot of work went into making it, but at the same time, like if something, you know, my dad always says, if it exists, you know, use it, because it's something we're all having to face. Like, how do we work? How do we bring together all these entities to get all these kids? And then plus, how do we get kids motivated to take, you know, on top of their already existing schedule, how do we get them to take dual credit courses? Can, you know, they just want to go to school, go home. They don't want to go above and beyond. So how do we sell that to kids? And so that's what this catalog, we've been calling it our NYCP catalog, is. And then another good technique we do is just I created an article to put in our Tots to Token. So it's our local paper, our local tribal paper. And so I just bought out 2 pages, and then we just literally list, because students, you give them to students and they get lost in their backpack lockers or they forget them on their table. But if parents know what NYCP is and that, you know, this is what your kid could be doing, it kind of just, they're able to kind of get on their child, or they'll call and ask, you know, if they can, you know, register their son or daughter. You know, because if I were a kid in high school, I'd be like, I don't want to take extra classes. Right. But as a parent with kids in high school, I'm just like, you're going to sign up for at least one. And so I think not so much putting it on the kids, but giving it to the parents to make those decisions has really been effective. So right. If you want me to email it, I can email it out, and you can use it all you want.
Thank you. What a great research. See, that's the great thing about, I mean, that's one of the things I love about Talking Circle is you folks can come together, pose out a question, and you have each other to like learn from and share, both just in your experiences, but also in the resources that you've created. So thank you all. Anybody else want to share what they're doing regarding, you know, their college and career, getting their students ready for that, as well as how are they engaging the community? I think the dual credit does both of those, right? It both prepares students, especially when you have these pipelines that you're creating, as well as engaging the community, whether it's a mentor or your actual like community college or your tribal colleges. What else is happening out there? Okay, great. Looks like David really wants to get his get some thoughts from Iris and like to see what you've developed. Awesome. And Sharon, thanks for sharing in the chat. Sharon, parents should also be included in the meeting with counselors. Yeah, sometimes the students take the wrong classes, yeah, and they fall short. I think the other thing I heard in the discussion is around supports for students, whether it's a counselor or maybe I think there was tutors. Allison mentioned tutors that are provided in the different areas.
Olani,
Yeah.
with regards to the career readiness aspect of it, you know how we have the Modern Youth Internship Academies plan for our programs. And one of the key components is internships. But a lot of students don't know what it means to have a job. So I worked with the Yurok tribe, and then we blended our funds and hired a job coach, which walks the students through creating resumes, applying for jobs, doing their drug tests or whatever other tests they have to get that job, and then following through, because a lot of students, they don't have their social security card, they don't have bank accounts, they don't have driver's licenses, they don't have the things to be employable, you know, that HR departments require you to have, because, you know, federal government requires you to fill out an I-9 form. So a job coach is something that's really helped us. If you have a plan for internships or employing students in any of your programs, that would be I couldn't recommend it enough. I wish we had a thought of it in year one instead of in year 3.
Yeah.
But if I could throw that out there, that's very helpful. And they literally walk the students step by step and handhold them through the whole entire process. And they also follow up behind them to make sure, you know, are you turning in your timesheets? Are you doing things like that to keep them mindful of that? Because, you know, they've never had a paycheck before. They don't understand timesheets. So a job coach is fantastic.
Awesome. And Allison, I have a question. Like, so is that person's work sort of embedded in the academies, or does it come along? Is there a point in when you deliver services that you bring in the job coach? How does that, or when they're in the internship? Is that the trigger for the job coach?
So the job coach attends all the Native American Club meetings that we have established in the middle of the days on different days of the week. They go to all those meetings, they bring information on internships that are available, and they bring applications with them, and students can talk to them then, or they can set up appointments afterwards. But if the students show interest, they start this texting relationship where they're working with the kids and they're getting them, because all the kids want to do is text, and we're like, we need the email with the application and all that. So bridging the gap communication wise is the difficult part. But yes, they get involved every meeting. They're there all the time, and they service our one job coach services 3 high schools. And because we blended it with the Yurok tribes program as well, they're not just servicing our tribe, but they're servicing the Yurok tribe. And we're hoping that when the Wiyot tribe gets their program up and running, if they have interns as well, that job coach can help the Wiyot tribe, so that we are all leveraging our funds and not duplicating services.
Awesome. That was some great info. And it looks like Zach wants to sort of hook up and get more information from you, Allison. He put his email in the chat. So lovely. Again, just the fruits of these conversations. I love it. So we can move on. And if there's not anybody else who wants to share what you folks are doing, we can move on to the next area of focus and next discussion point. And so another NYCP focus is to improve educational outcomes of Native youth through strategies tailored to address the specific challenges and build upon, you know, the opportunities and culture within the community. So I'd love to hear what you folks are doing, what strategies you're utilizing to address and improve the educational outcomes of your Native youth. This slide might help some of the discussion is when we're looking to improve educational outcomes, you're really sort of sharing, we would love for you to share a particular challenge and a strategy or activity that you use to address the challenge. And so If you could come off of mute and just share a challenge you're addressing as it relates to educational outcomes, and then a strategy that you are employing to address this challenge.
I can take a stab at part of it. Again, just getting started. So in terms of strategies, maybe not that far along, but one of the objectives of our grants is to like increase social and emotional learning and support. And just from some kind of early conversations with students and teachers, it really sounds like the curriculum doesn't connect very well. The curriculum that the district has bought doesn't necessarily connect very well with like the culture and the students' own experiences and things like that. So like early on strategies have been just kind of researching and emailing people to see if there's like something pre-made that's better, and or how we might work towards like adapting the existing curriculum that does sort of meet Washington learning standards and is evidence-based and that kind of thing, but to make it a little bit more rooted in the community. The challenge on the other side, though, is like needing it to be kind of a developed curriculum that's evidence-based, even if that evidence doesn't feel like it really is evidence kind of for our particular students.
Yeah. Others want to share maybe something that you've created as it relates to maybe integrating, making the curriculum more relevant to the community and the culture of the community. Maybe you're utilizing something that was already created, or maybe you've actually created something in-house. I know at another, I can't remember what talking circle it was. We were talking about sort of culture-based education. I think it was PD. And we were talking about the elements of how you do sort of like culture-based education. And one of the things that I've heard mentioned over and over again in this discussion is about relationship building. While that's not necessarily, something, it connects to social and emotional learning. It may not necessarily be, you might be able to find that in an already created curriculum, but you could also look to your community to find examples in that which you could integrate and create your own as well. Others want to go ahead.
Oh, this is Chris again. And we've been spending the last 5 or 6 months designing decolonizing curricula for our middle and high school students. The plan is to implement it during a 4-week summer youth program. The events that we are going to be covering is the missionaries, the railroad, the Mullen Road, and the discovery of gold and silver that shaped our current reservation to what it is today. Our hope is by learning this curriculum is that it'll raise their critical consciousness, and we want them to become critical reflectors. And what can they do at this point or when they become leaders to address some of the results of what has happened to those 4 major events in shaping our reservation and the impact that those events have had on our people, our land, and our water.
Yeah, very true, very true.
And we hope that it increases the educational outcomes of our students. It gives purpose for learning because, as we all know, we are exempt from and dismissed in our curriculum in our public schools.
Yeah. It might not be, it's most likely not in the curriculum, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I remember when I was in, it took me getting all the way to college to really learn the real Hawaiian history. And I had to seek that out. So I understand the level of empowerment and, like you said, the reason to go to school.
Yep. It gives purpose, doesn't it?
It does. It does. A purpose to your life, really.
Yes, and it helps you understand the impact that it has had on the people, the social and political and environmental that it has had on tribes.
Yeah, yeah. And I love what you were saying at the beginning, that it teaches a skill that wasn't on sort of the skill around career and college, around like being able to see a situation and come with it with critical thinking skills, right? I mean, because
yes,
if you're just learning this and you're like, why wasn't I taught this before? Or what does this mean for my life? What does this mean for my future? Where do I see that outside, beyond my tribe, into the larger world? All of these questions start to come up for students. And that's an amazing skill that can be transferred into any college. I mean, that's really college skill set.
Our hope is that they will enter into the Native Studies programs that are being offered in our college, Idaho colleges and universities, Washington State, etc. That is our ultimate goal. And again, having this knowledge and using it to serve the tribe.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I hear you are on the whole, but really that skill that you're teaching them to this curriculum can be applied into any field they go into, right? I mean, it's just a necessary skill today. Discernment and critical thinking.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you again for sharing that amazing work. And what an interesting, an amazing curriculum based on the challenges that your communities are facing. Others.
Lonnie, this is Tannen again. I would just encourage us. We deal mostly on the high school level with students, but I would just encourage people not to overcomplicate it. Something as simple as, like last week, we did some cross-curricular things with our Cherokee language, and they met with our STEM computer science classes, and they did a project together, and they used Cherokee words for plants, and the STEM kids built computer robotic flowers, and then they attached the Cherokee meaning and word to those. And little things like that go a long ways just in incorporating culture and heritage into our daily activities. And the kids love it.
Yeah. Yeah. That is awesome. I love that, that exchange between a native language and technology, and also like plants and plant names, like that's amazing. So the flowers were robots, or how did that?
Yes, so the part of the STEM challenge was to make movable electronic parts, and so you would have the flowers blooming or moving in the wind. And they also talked about the cultural element was, what did we use those plants for? Were they medicinal? Were they edible? Were they decorative? And so it mixed in the history and the culture and the electronics or the computer sciences. It was really fun.
Yeah, and botany too, right? And
yes.
Awesome. That's great. That's really STEM and STEAM together. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And you're right. I mean, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be complicated, and you probably have those resources. And so it's just thinking about, blending like what was done in that last example, and bringing maybe two things you think are like not connected together and creating some amazing connections. All right, and it looks like Cindy's sharing in the chat as well. Native corporations who serve out of Alaska, a couple corporations shared curriculum, nice, around Alaska. There were some SEL lessons incorporated into the language arts curriculum. Nice, awesome, great, great. Others, I know there's a whole bunch of you. I want to make sure we're giving space for everybody to have a moment to share and come off of mute. Love to hear your voice. Okay. If not, then we'll move in to sort of wrapping up today. Looks like we're going to get you folks out a little earlier than was planned. But are there any other questions maybe about this content, or maybe some other questions that you might have?
Hey, this is Conrad here in Anchorage. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hey, we submitted our coordination plan because we're also on a ACE grant and sent that in to Donna yesterday. I just wanted to make sure that she received that and we're good to go. And then, yeah, that's all I wanted to make sure we.
Okay.
had.
Yeah, hi Conrad. I have those and I'm reviewing them. I had a lot of things to do today, but I got it on my calendar to get through all of those emails that have come through tomorrow. So I'll get to that.
All
Thanks,
right, awesome. Just want to make sure we're meeting that due date. Thank
Oh
you.
yeah, yeah, you're good.
Awesome, great. Okay. Any other questions? Looks like, all right, nothing in the chat. So again, if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat, but I want you to just sort of like mark your calendars. Office hours is coming up January 26th. If you have not been to an office hour before, it's just exactly that. We get on Zoom most of the time. All of the program directors are there. You can ask questions, and we actually have a lot of people who listen in, because sometimes people don't know the questions that they should ask. And so you get to hear from your peers across all of OIE's grant programs. So it's a great session. And you can have one question pop in, ask your question and leave as well. But again, like I said, we do have quite a few people who sit in and listen. They might not actually have a question, but they learn things by listening to other grantees' questions. And then your next NYCP Talking Circle will be coming up on March 16th. You want to just sort of mark that on your calendar. And then, like I said, the NYCP APR webinar will be on March 30th.
I just wanted to
Yeah,
say
go
one
ahead.
thing real quick, if I could, to Cindy and a few others that asked me that in private chat. I just emailed everybody the curriculum, the syllabus, flyers, and some contact information. And please let me know how much you want me to get into the details. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Allison. Okay, so we have the end of event poll. If you wouldn't mind taking, a couple seconds, maybe 60 seconds, a minute to go through. We really actually utilize this data to see how we're doing. So we want to go ahead, if you could complete that. And then we have, if you need to contact your technical assistance team, you see our email there. We provide one-on-one support and coaching sessions. There is the link to the Calendly, so you can go ahead and reserve your time. And I know my crewmates here, my team, will be putting in, there you go, Casey's on it, in the chat, the link to Calendly. So again, you can go ahead and reserve a time. Also, if you want to connect to Donna or even the OIE TA team, because some of you do have multiple grants, please make sure that in the subject of the email that you put your PR award number, so we can make sure we are providing you the direction and the answers that are related to your specific grant. Also, if you have maybe I know for a lot of you new grantees, you're busy hiring, making sure everybody's on. You can go ahead and share your whole team, all your team members' emails, and we can get them on the list so we can make sure that they're invited to this, but also, any information, our e-newsletter, we can get information out there so they can feel included as part of all of our trainings and the information we provide. There is Donna Safis Burns, she's the group lead email, as well as Donna Bussell, your program officer's email, and then your OIE technical assistance team. Additionally, OIE has a Twitter account, so we provide all different kinds of information information that's going out there in Native American, Alaska Native landscape around education. So check out the OIE Twitter account, excuse me. Okay. Again, I want to thank you all for attending. Thank you for sharing both your thoughts, your programs, what's going on, as well as your resources. I also love that you felt comfortable enough to ask questions of each other. That is really at the heart of our talking circles, to learn and share with each other. Have a great day, and I will see you definitely in March. All right, take care. Aloha.